Welcome to Tsunami. Conversations, the platform to engage on theological discussions. Spirituality, church polity, and religious matters. Our aim is to impart knowledge to the people of God. Welcome to Tsunami Conversation.
Greetings and welcome to our second episode of Tsunami Conversations. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tsunami Conversations. And today we are in the presence of greatness and with someone with an immense knowledge to share and to impart on all of us. We've got Professor Boitumelo Ben Senokoane amongst us today in the studio. Prof, greetings and how are you?
Greetings to yourself and to the viewers of Tsunami Conversation. You know, the name Tsunami, it reminds me of this eruption of some sort.
Yes.
So thank you very much for having invited me, and I appreciate that you took your time to invite me, and hope that my contribution and participation shall go one step further by going into ordinary men and human faith.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prof. Prof, personally, I was doubtful and, hesitant that you will actually make it here today because you are quite a busy person. You are never at the same place. 2 minutes you are here, the next you are there. You are a busy person. You are a reverend of a congregation, a professor at UNISA, a unionist, a moderator of a regional synod, and a businessman in your own right. How do you balance all of that? Maybe just on a lighter note, how do you balance all of that work?
Hey, I think I get bored to doing only one thing. So, and I think what keeps me going or my existence is based on trying to do multiple things at the same time. Because if I don't do that, if I put my mind and heart on one thing, eventually then I don't achieve. So it only exists in multiplicity.
Multiplicity.
That's where I exist. So if I were to just mono concentration, I don't think. No. I don't think I'll be myself. So I think that's my. I escape into that world, and that's the world that I exist in.
Okay, maybe just to pick up on that, Prof. Also on a lighter note, recently we have seen one of the biggest tournaments in the football fraternity, which is the FIFA World Cup. Which team were you vouching for, or which player? Now people vouch for players and a team as well. I don't know where that comes from.
Look, I think I vouched for France. Of course, beyond France, I had hoped that African teams will make it, and I was actually impressed by the outcomes. Yeah. If I might maybe not be accurate, but I was impressed with the performance of course, Tunisia disappointed.
Yeah, a lot.
And I didn't think, but of course there are political reasons why it performed the way it did. But beyond Tunisia, Egypt did very well. Yeah. Under the circumstances, Morocco did us very proud. Algeria, even Bafana,
yes.
They did us very proud. Yeah. And I think it's something that we must learn, that beyond this FIFA tournament, we shall then see results in the nearer future where we might even go to semi-finals, eventually to finals. And speaking of Bafana, my son was telling me that, hey, this Bafana, I don't trust it until Bafana succeeded. And I explained to him to say, we are too harsh on Bafana. minding that we only came back into or we were recognized as a united South Africa into the global arena just in the 90s. And
while
teams
others have been there.
Have been competing for many years. They've learned from their mistakes, experiences, and we ought to give credit to Bafana with how they've played. And we must also be happy with the performance, forgetting that the performance of any team in the PSL translates into gaining experience for South African players. And what we have seen now is that the exposure of our players into the global arena will therefore assist us in exposing our own players to playing elsewhere in the world. Therefore, by design, they will perform in the near. So I was happy with how African
the
teams
overall
played.
performance of the African teams.
Yes.
Maybe someone will be confused now that we are a soccer podcast, but we just wanted to get it on a lighter note to hear where your money was and your...
You can't separate the theology from sports.
Theology of sports.
Theology with sports, you can't. If you go in the Old Testament, the New Testament, there is sports there.
True. No, thank you so much, Prof. I think we will uncover this some other time. Maybe to someone who might not know who Professor Boitumelo Ben Senokoane is, how do you describe yourself, your upbringing up to maybe where you are at the moment?
It's difficult to really say. Look, I was born in a small town in the Free State called place named after J.B.M. Herzog. He's the architect of but apartheid. Also participated in this apartheid design. And I had thought that the name will be changed by now, but for some reason, Provincial Geographical Names Committee of the Free State is not doing well in as far as trying to change these names or the provinces themselves. I was born in a location called Malebogo. It's just somewhere in the Free State. I think 150 kilos from Bloemfontein.
Oh, okay.
So that's where we are in Tokologo municipality, but the greater municipality is Lejoli Butswa, where the head offices will be in Velkom.
In Velkom, yeah.
So that's where I originate. But later then, schooled also in Tabancho for 1.5 years. Did my primary there at St. Paul's, Standard 4, went to Ikaelelo Secondary, but then went back to Herzog. Then later, moved to Gauteng, specifically in Orange Farm in the Val Triangle. That's where I matriculated, But later then I had to move to Polokwane in Teflop to pursue ministry studies in the United Reformed Church. But of course, studying with UNIS as a distance learning institution. So, but the seminary was based in Mankwen there in Teflop. But before that, I also did 1 year as a fashion designer, but dropped out after.
Oh, that's why it explains your taste.
Maybe, I don't know. But then I dropped out after a year. I thought, but I think I'm a theologian. So, but I also had dreams of being a pilot.
Okay.
But me and mathematics are enemies. So I made peace that I can't be a pilot because mathematics is not my subject at all, zero. So I made peace that I'm not a mathematician. Then I had to make peace that God has gifted me differently. And I think sometimes our education system is wrong in a sense that it assumes that all of us must know more or less the same thing. Yeah. I'm not saying people shouldn't know mathematics, but there are certain things, even if you were to sit with me and force them into my brain, they are refusing because I'm not wired like that.
True.
As long as I'm able to count and it's fine. It's fine. As long as I know money, I can know the time and other things, basics, it's fine. But don't assume that my brain is receptive of other things. So then after Tefluop, we moved then to Pretoria later because the theology department was closed there. Then we came back to UNISA with others, stayed here, started at Mamelodi. It was myself, Moruti Maruping, Moruti Mutsiri Karudi, Moruti Magagula. We then later moved to Salvacopo. We were joined by Moruti Shai, Moruti Stutu, Moruti Pulemotlo. Okay. May his soul rest in peace. So we started in here, studying here. Eventually, all of us because we encouraging, motivating, pushing one another. We all finished.
You all finished.
None of us was literally a dropout.
You held each other
No, even when others went back home, we made means that they must come back. And it happened like that. They all finished, even when they had academic difficulties. So finished here. I went to Netherlands after my UNISA honors, studied. I also did some undergraduate degrees at UP. It's a cocktail, undergraduate honors, MDiv courses. I don't know what you call that. Yourself, you're lucky that you had masters because I was the one who came who said, look, I get this cocktail thing that it doesn't have a name. So anyone who comes after me must at least
do the real thing.
Must get a master's at least because I stayed this whole year. I have this courses, they don't have a name. So I know people today argue to say, master's is too high. But if you know where I come from, I have a list of modules for across undergraduate, honors, masters, passed all over there, but they don't have a name. It's just there, So I'm just making that example. Then once I was done, I went to Kampen to do my master's in
the Netherlands.
Yes, in Kampen. Kampen Theological Universities where the likes of Alan Busak, Takazo Mofukeng, Ntoani studied. Okay. So I came back after that. When I was back, then I did my PhD at UNISA. That's where I started to work at UNISA also. 2006. Also started to be a minister. So almost everything of my life started in 2006.
In 2006.
So more or less, that's who I am, and ventured into union politics, fighting for the rights of the workers, protection of the workers. Also participated in theological training of the United Reformed Church by virtue of the studies that I had in dogmatic theology or systematic theology or ethics. And then I ventured into politics, because naturally if you study Reformed theology and black theology, you find yourself hooked into politics. Unfortunately, economics, politics. So I found myself in that space. Look, I've grew up in a family of business. I always have that, and I always argue that in my lineage, grandfather's lineage, I was the first one to be employed. My grandfather worked for himself. My father worked for himself. I think I was the first one to even get there in my grandfather formal qualification and also working, being a slave to the government,
to the system,
or to others. But then most of the time I don't think I think that I ought to work for myself. True. That's why you always find myself trying this and that. But I think I've been more successful as a business person or business-orientated person, as a church business person. I think I thrive better in the church. That's where I'm able to unlock business potential, possibilities, and they are happening within the church. So sometimes I even ask myself whether God called me to limit me, my business skills only within the church. Where you do not really benefit anything directly.
But you are generating
just generating for the church, for everyone. Maybe I can use those skills later in my life where I will be able to use those skills to benefit myself and my family.
Maybe, thank you so much, Prof. Maybe just to pick up on what you have just said now about a whole lot of things, but you mentioned that you went to the Netherlands to pursue your studies in dogmatics. as a young boy growing up, did you know about theology? Where did the idea of theology to you come about, because I want to believe that theology is one of the discipline that is less spoken about. You weren't sitting in Orange Farm or anywhere else in the township when you are filling the forms, automatically think of theology. There will be those upper discipline, your law, your medicine, and many others. Why? What made you fall in love with this discipline?
Look, I really didn't know anything about theology. I had the view of, since Herzog, there will be that view that I want to be a Muruti, but then clashed with being a designer, fashion designer, clashed with being a pilot. Only when I arrived in Orange Farm, my mother then introduced the idea to the Reverend Dr. Nchumayelo that I want to be a Muruti, a pastor, a minister. Out of that, one day when I was sitting in church, then Muruti Nchumayelo just said, "Hey, do me stand up." And I stand up. He said, "No, to me, we'll be going to School of Saburuti."
Just like that.
Just like that. And I was like, "Hey, what's happening?" Because I never told him that I wanted to. So it came from my mother who informed our pastor in Orange Farm. So then now the idea started being alive. But even my then cousin who's now late, Manana, who was a police officer, used to tell people, even a colleague, that he's going to be a pastor, this one. So they now started to adapt to that. But what I used to do, I used to organize beauty contests, pageants. Of course, I started participating, but later then being interested in organizing.
In church or in the community?
In the community.
Okay.
So that's what I started in the community. Later, I would also do trips, organized. So they were successful. So I said, hey, maybe I can do this thing in the church and things like that. So eventually everything of mine started to be linked. That's why I'm trapped in the church.
In the church, yes.
So now I thought, look, I can assist communities. I can organize communities better within the church. And it worked like that. Because it was like in the church. I don't know why I thought it will work better in the church. But eventually,
the idea was there.
The idea was there.
Should happen in the church.
In the church. So I got trapped in the church. The skills of organizing started in the community, but I always thought maybe they will be better in the church. So that's why today when I organize events in the church, I get them right. Because I've been doing organizing.
You don't even second guess yourself.
No. I know about it. I've done it too as a young boy. I know what I'm doing when I come to that. I take into consideration the culture, the mindset of the people when I deal with that, and I don't miss a mark. Because I had done that. I did trial and error when I was still a boy, where I will organize something and it fails decimally, an egg on my face. Now I know what to avoid.
True.
So that's more or less what happened. So eventually when I was in Orange Farm, then I had to start being in that. So Muruti Nchumayelo, because he had this thing of allowing young people to participate in the church council, in church activities. So we started participating.
While then it was not fashionable.
No, it was not.
People,
it was not fashionable. So I would participate in church choir. I was not really into ministries. So he forced me to be in church choir. So I was forced. He said, no, you must be in church choir now. Because I was the kind of a reserved person. I just wanted to be in church. Immediately after church, I must leave.
Yeah.
I never wanted really to get myself involved. No. Because I had my views on what people should wear in church, what shouldn't they do. So it clashed with some of these traditional ideas. So, but he said, you must be part of the choir. So I participated in the choirs, the camps, said you must participate in teaching Sunday school. So I had to teach Sunday school. I had to be in the church council. And later I had to, in one of the congregations that were found by him in Orange Farm, CDB, in extension 8A, I had now to be in the church council and also now start during this service, you must now count money, collect money. Now I started leading that thing also. Now I'm a Sunday school teacher. I'm here. I'm now a deacon. And the problem then, Memathat, who was the elder of the ward, will, for some reason, wait for times when there was a debut.
Okay.
If it's a debut of Pirates and Chiefs, suddenly she will just arrive to say we must go do house visits. Here's the souk. And now I must watch it and that. Now I'm forced to wear a jacket. Now we must go. And now I must. So you are forced to participate. And you know in your heart that I must be watching this soccer.
With your peers.
With the peers. Now I must go there. Now enjoy that until you are done. Come home rushing. And I also, like I told you, I liked the beauty contest at school, or participate in the community arrangement. So we used to have the 6 to 6. Start 6 p.m., finish 6 a.m.
Sure.
So, and from Orange Farm Extension 8A, you must go to Extension 6 at the hall. So I must come back early, I arrive home at 7, so I need to sleep. But my mother said to me, no, you can't, you must go to church.
Yeah.
You can go. The condition is that when you come back, you must go to church. So church start by 10. So I must leave between 7 and 8:30. 9 o'clock, I must make sure that I must go to church.
The box of the church must be ticked.
Because it's a condition that you can only do those things if you go to church the following morning. So now I'll go to church, struggle, they sleep in church sometimes because now I must follow this condition.
True.
So those are the struggles of being a young person and wanting to be in the church space. You get what I'm saying? So, but later then, he said, once you are done with this, you must go to a seminary, but our church requirement is that you must go to university and do theology. That's when I knew that there is theology. So I just went, because by then I didn't have, these requirements of university. Exemption.
Or bachelor.
No, I didn't have. Now we had to do a bridging course of some sort. We tried UP. I qualified with UP in terms of the other criteria, but because of age, I think it needed me to have 23 years or something.
Okay.
Therefore, I couldn't qualify. So it was a group of us when we came back. Because when I started, it was different. It was at UNISA, it was different. Wanted to go to UP. We tried also Potchefstroom. We couldn't. Then eventually we came back to UNISA when I had spent a year, but came back to UNISA. Then from there, we continued studying with UNISA until I finished, and the rest then became history.
Yes. What a story, Prof. What a story. And it's so interesting how everything, the series of your events unfolded up to maybe where you are today.
Unlike you, there was never a lightning that struck me during the evening.
The tsunamis.
The tsunamis.
No, but it's a very interesting, and I think our viewers are gonna like this, because many of the people will always see you there, then you disappear. But such platforms, they give people a sense of who that particular person is, And maybe just to pick up on that, Prof, you mentioned earlier when you were narrating your life as a person that you did dogmatics. Maybe to someone who might not know what is dogmatics or systematic theology, how can you summarize that field of study to someone who's watching now?
Look, in simple terms, it's just the systematic study of, it's even foundations of faith, our beliefs, practices, what influence our practices, the type of theology that we are doing, studying and informing the tradition that we find ourselves, also systems of faith. So more or less that's what theology, systematic or dogmatic theology, because sometimes it's used differently. Interchangeably.
Yeah.
Sometimes systematic theology involves both, on other theologians' view, both dogmatic and ethics. So they argue that you can't separate. They fall under the umbrella of systematic theology. But generally, if you wish to separate, and that's where I'm trapped, because I did my study in dogmatic/systematic, but then I found myself teaching theological ethics.
Okay.
So that's
So the argument of those people, it means it became
became real.
So you can't separate it.
With myself, and even sometimes I even struggle to explain the type of theology that I do, because I find myself trapped in these two disciplines somehow. So that's more or less what is it about.
But also, Prof, you have written, I think, so many material extensively on quite a number of issues, and to someone who might not know these terminologies of dogmatics and systematics, they will come across a very popular wording or a discipline called Black liberation theology, Who are you liberating? What are you liberating? Why are you trapped in that space of constantly, in your writings, taking out some liberational aspects from your writings?
Look, like I said, for an example, the dogmatic or systematic theology, they say it's about study about God and God's action.
Yes.
So then that's what it separates dogmatic or systematic theology from ethics. Because ethics is more about the society, human beings, but this one is separate. It's about conceptualizing about God and the action of God.
Okay.
That's where the distinction is, or the line they are drawn. But then later, when you speak about Black theology in this regard, it's a theology born, let's argue, in South Africa, Southern Africa, on the basis of our political oppression, suppression, exclusion, or in economics also, and in the society, which then will make that a distinction between Black theology and African theology, because African theology will more or less emphasize the traditions and culture.
And the indigenous knowledge.
And so on. So the difference on this one will be on the political economic side, even of course issues that affect the society in general. So that's where the emphasis is. And the model of liberation then is born out of a context that you have an understanding that there is an oppression or suppression of some, whether by systems, by design, or by others, or by the environment. So that's where but remember that then it was then informed by Black liberation theology from the Southern America by the likes of James Cone, where he's mostly then given this title as the father of Black liberation theology, asking difficult questions about the color of God, and especially in relation to or the position of God in relation to Black people who find themselves sidelined, oppressed by virtue of their conditions and their skin pigmentation. So more or less that's how it was then born. But Black theology in South Africa then tries to adapt that to the conditions that might be different from Latin America, to contextualize them, to speak to our immediate challenge and orientation as Black people in Southern Africa or South Africa. And that's where you see them, the likes of Itumele Mosala, the likes of Takatso Mofokeng, Allen Busak, Goba,
yourself.
I'm a black theologian, but I'm somewhere there.
No, I get
I'm
it.
not like I do not want to argue on the basis or to give an impression that one day I know that there was, I don't know whether it was a perception or whether it was a statement, but there used to be a rumor that Prof. Tinyuko Maluleke argued that he was the last black theologian.
Okay.
I don't know whether it was a rumor or whether it's true. But whether it's a rumor or it's true is not correct, because there will always be other generation beyond that. That was not the project.
You cannot close the door.
No, you can't. It doesn't even have the authority. If black theology it's a project of black people aimed at liberating black community, then you can't therefore domesticate it or own it as an individual. So I'm somewhere there, but I can't compare myself with the likes of himself, Tinyuko Maluleke, Mosala, Chikane, Motlabi, Mosoma. So those are Maimela. Those are the giants of black theology. Even today, when we write, we always have to reference them, because that's where the foundations are found. I can't even imagine writing anything without reference,
without citing those.
So I'm not saying it's not doable, but that's the reality. It's like wanting to write anything about Reformation and there's no reference to the likes of Martin Luther or John Calvin or Zwingli and others.
Or Bath.
You'll always have to have that as your base. So that's more or less. And then I think the conditions of apartheid therefore forced us to have this theology that speaks to the political and economic environment of our country.
Sure. No, thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. And in one of your writings, it's an article you wrote extensively about a hymn that is loved by many people, and it's exciting how you conceptualized your angle towards that particular hymn, and you took out some aspects from that hymn that an ordinary person, I think, wouldn't have noticed that they were there in the first place. Maybe just so that people know what I'm talking about. Let me read it, Prof. Then you will speak on it when I'm done. The hymn, you said the hymn is hymn number 11. I don't know, in our hymn books or other hymn books. Sitensi Diba Samadi. People love this song. Alitareng ya tefelo, diba se eleng setlhare, matla sona ke bophelo. Verse number 2. Baetsa dibi ba batsho, ba se kenang ka tumelo. Ba tloha teng ka bosweu, ka thabo le ka tshwarelo. You wrote on this hymn, Prof, and in your dissection of the hymn, you seem to be focusing on verse 2. I would like maybe for you to speak about the liberational aspect that you took out from that hymn, especially verse 2 of that hymn. What was going through your mind? What made you to be interested in that interpretation? Because I know our viewers are going to find it very much interesting and educative.
Look, you are referring to another one, I think, because the main one was Jehovah Mudimu
Wa Israel.
Israel.
Okay, yes.
So I use that one to support my view.
Okay.
To add, to say, look, beyond this specific one, you can also refer to this one. But hymn 11 is about Jehovah Mudimu wa Israel.
Yes.
No, they translated, direct translation to mean Jehovah. What is the let me just get the direct translation so that Jehovah, God of Israel.
God of Israel.
But you will know that in if you done Hebrew, you will know that Jehovah is not really a Hebrew word. If you use vowels and consonants, it's something
else.
The Hebrews, they couldn't even pronounce. It was not allowed that they pronounce the word of God.
Yes.
When they see the letters J, E, V,
yes,
without
the vowels.
Therefore, if you pronounce it together with that, that's how it will think it sounds. But they were not allowed to call the name of God.
Yeah.
So they will
because of the sacredness of the
then they will say Adonai.
Yes.
But for other reasons, other translators therefore did that. But more or less that's where it is. So maybe that one, because it's a long one, but it's important that we understand the words. I don't know whether we must read the Sesotho one or English one.
Any Prof.
Yeah, but it says
Sesotho one. I think many people can relate.
Jehovah Mudimu wa Israel o re faladitse. Jehovah Mudimu wa Israel o re faladitse. Li fifin la pele. Li fifin, then is the problem.
Yeah.
The darkness. We assume that the missionaries arrived. They found these empty people.
Yeah.
Without any form of understanding that there is God or they do not have religion of some sort or spirituality. That's the first problem that you can identify. So these people, they are so happy that there's this newly found God who came into their life to protect or rescue them. We now, loosely translated, we are human beings, we know how to pray. As if black people didn't know how to pray.
How to communicate.
No relationship with the spiritual world. Maotonga khotso a tswang ho monghadi a tlile Lesotho lefatsheng la madi. Because this was hymn was composed where?
In
Lesotho, based on the political and economic context of Lesotho then. And I will come back later to say what were the political and economic conditions. Remember during the wars that happened, tribal wars that happened between Basotho, Mazulu, and other tribes, Tifakane, or any other wars. There was this constant threat that the Zulu under King Shaka and others will attack other nations to eliminate, extinguish them from their existence. So this is how this song was composed. So for Basotho, it comes as a message of hope. They are threatened a nation. Then this comes a message of this God who's so mighty, powerful, who can protect them against this mighty King Shaka or nation of the Amazulu. So that's the context. And what happens is that you will know the story. They run into the mountains for protection and to hide.
And cover.
For cover. Then they exist in this mountain. So that's the context that you ought to interpret and understand this specific hymn. So Mautunga Khotso, so they speak about peace because they are longing for this peace that they don't see. Atswang monghadi atlile Lesotho lefatsheng la madi. Lefatsheng la madi because there's blood. There's war between the tribes. Mukhosi wa khutsa Dira tsa re bakela. Enemies are just here in our doorsteps. Hu binwa se fela se boka Modimo. We praise God because we now there's this message of hope, protection. And of course, military intervention that might have happened there because of what they're experiencing. Naha ya nyakala, there's joy. Because now
everyone in the village is happy now.
Happy. You know, there's now sudden protection, and you know, whereas military intervention by this British, and now suddenly people are happy. They've got their own homes, you know, protection of some sort. Military. So it has this military content also.
Yes.
That you can't exclude.
Yes.
You want to understand the context of this. You know, so so people now, because they feel safe, they come back from wherever they were, mountains, because there's this presence, military presence of the Brits. So ba di koboshiane banka kata le kheku le akwa ke tloholo tsa lona di tla di hudile o boeke mong wa bona dipoko tsohle di hlabe Modimo. Wena Jehova morena wa Modimo, re setjhaba sa hao se ratilweng ke Jesu, di sa mmuso o wa hao fatsheng lena la heso. You see, so now you know, so if you read it in English, it actually gives you a different meaning and an explanation. And maybe it's better that we read it. I can just read it quicker.
That's fine.
Jehovah, God of Israel, you saved us from the darkness we were in. We are very glad when we kneel before you. Today we are a people who know how to pray. The feet of peace were sent by the Master. He came to Lesotho, the land of blood. When they came, Satan trembled. The noise stopped. The enemies fled. In dark caves were cannibals. You know the cannibals?
Yeah.
Because they were now in these caves, in mountains.
Yeah.
In Sesotho today, there's this concept, if you read in details about Majabato.
Yeah.
Now, when they were trapped in the mountains and the caves, in fact, you will read some of the notes where one person confesses that, I wrote it in the article, confesses that they, because now, remember, if you are trapped in caves and mountains, if you can't hunt, so people were dying now. So he confesses on the notes that they now had to eat
each other
now for survival.
For survival,
He even confessed that I even had to eat my own brothers. Literally, my own brother, the flesh of my own brother for survival. So cannibalism is also there. So used to live now a song is sung to praise God. The country is glad. There are many homes. Prosperity has come in the place of danger. The people who were scattered have come home. Those who protected fortresses were received with joy. The old man sees his grandson. They grew up in the meantime. Praise the Lord. Yes, let's all song go up to you, Jehovah, Lord God. We are the people loved by Jesus. Strengthened your kingdom in this country of ours. So if you take this, you take it back to, for an example, to this is what I wrote about actually as a problem statement in my doctoral degree, to argue on the basis of color, problems of color, and you don't trace them. The question, concepts of color, whether blackness or darkness, is not a new concept. You find it in as far as the writings of Origin and Gregory of Nyssa.
Yes.
So you find there's this struggle
of color.
Yeah. You know, even when you go to, what is this biblical text? I forgot the biblical text that speaks about color, where it emphasizes black as beautiful.
Okay.
Is it Song of Songs.
It should be around
No, we should not be struggling with you.
digital space.
We should,
Everything is here.
let me just find it for you.
The concept of those people who were eating people, I think, ke madimo.
Yeah, but
in the
they call
caves.
it. Yeah, but they call it Majabat.
Majabat.
So it's correct, Madimo Majabat. But let me just speak. Our Song of Solomon.
Okay.
It's Song of Songs. So it says it's specifically chapter 1, verse 5 to 7.
Yes.
I am black and beautiful, O daughters of Israel, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I'm dark, because the sun has gazed on me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard I have not kept. Tell me, you whom my soul loves, when you pasture your flock, where you make it lie down at noon. For why would I be like one who is veiled besides the flocks of your companions? So this is a biblical passage that was used long time ago by the likes of Origen, Gregory of Nyssa to grapple with this question of darkness and blackness. And as a result, I know that the idea of black is beautiful.
Yeah.
Most in South Africa, people only link it to Steve
Biko.
Biko.
Yeah.
And it's a biblical passage. In fact, Biko was not the first person to use it. One of the earliest writers that I could find using this Song of Solomon was Sol Plaatje in his book, The Natives. He literally, after speaking about, he says, when I wake up in June, I think 1913.
Yes.
When he said a black man wakes up no longer as a slave but a pariah in the land of his birth, he immediately goes into this biblical passage. You can go and check it. But then later you see that even Bani Pijana used it because he was into the theology. So it became a language or a popular biblical passage that was used by Black conscious movement. And therefore, that's how Steve Biko would have got access into this specific biblical passage. Of course, because he was a popular person, therefore, then it was linked to it. But it's a biblical passage. That then, so if you understand that the question of blackness and darkness, it's a theological problem that ought to be redefined and re-explained from time to time, so that we do not find ourselves falling into the trap of thinking that everything that we say about blackness. In fact, this specific song of Hymn Level, I grew up in Orange Farm, especially in the then MBB, now CFM. You know, they will sing this song. They've got this. I don't know what is Selelekela. What is a teaser of ubumkomkana bakho mabufi. Intando yakho mayenzeke emhlabeni. Then immediately after that they say Jehovah modimo. You know, so we sing, we like that song. But if you sit down, you realize, hey, there are problems with this song. But because you know,
they are doing it effortlessly.
Yeah, you don't really do exegesis and try to discover the actual meaning, historical, and other implications about it.
So you actually believe in the concept of theology of suspicion, which is your concept. You normally throw it around a lot, that every passage before you should examine it with some suspicions.
Yes, there ought to be a hermeneutic of suspicion in how we interpret the scripture, even our doctrines, our theology. It's very important to do that, because the failure to do that is that then you will receive everything, even with its mistakes. You inherit the mistakes that are there. and others are ought to be understood differently because they might have meant something for a particular environment, context. So it's important that from time to time, we ought to read everything, even our events.
Yeah.
I always even teach my children to say, not everything that I teach you might be right.
Yeah.
Or to interrogate it. Yes, as a father, as a parent, I will enforce.
Yeah.
And I don't even argue with you.
Yeah.
Because I will think I know better. But when you grow up, your responsibility is even to think through what I'm teaching you, because others might be wrong. I might be misled by my own presuppositions, my perceptions. Yes. Therefore, as my child, you ought to challenge me in the future. You know, of course, you might not have that leverage in my house because my rules are my rules. But
in future, when you've got the space,
no, you ought to think otherwise.
Again, Prof, I think maybe as a way of maybe wrapping up, you also spoke or wrote about one of the parables in the Bible, the parable of the servants, you know, and also there is this liberational message that you are trying to, you know, to impart to our people, to say, these are my lenses that I am looking at this particular parable with. I think you know it, Prof. It's Matthew 24:5.
Is Matthew 25:14 to 20.
Yes. Can you share with us your trail of thoughts when you were excavating and exegeting that particular passage? Of course, because you are coming from a certain school of thoughts in theology. How did you approach that particular parable?
Look, this is, I think, what I was trying to achieve with him. Level.
Yes.
The parable found in Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30, or the parable of the talents.
Yes,
where there are three servants, one given 5 talents, the other one given 2 talents, and the other one 1 talent.
Yes.
So those are 3 categories of servants. So we are told that the others multiplied, but this one put the talent somewhere, hid it is it under the soil?
Under the soil.
So, but others interpret it otherwise to say it's because of the fear, things like that. And the other 2 are therefore praised. But I interpret
they are praised for multiplying.
For multiplying for the master.
Okay.
I always make this argument with my friends or other people, with Reverend Monta sometimes, when I'll just call him and say, hey man, assist me with that. And say, but you must work out. And I say, hey man, you know, using the same parable.
Yeah.
So the idea is that the 2 multiplied for the master. But I come from a point of view as a union. As a worker. To saying, look, the system is exploitative. The master is here, the master is not working. You are there, servants, you must work, multiply the talents for the master. That's how the system is built. The master comes back, celebrate, take all these profits or the multiplication out of your own hard work, sorrow.
And sweat.
And, you know. So in this, now I praise this one to say he was aware that as a worker, he's now working for the system, multiplying for the system, giving profit to the system, but without even being given guarantees about his or her own returns or benefit out of that. Because we do not find elsewhere where we are told that after these ones have multiplied. In fact, what we read is that the master gave them back the same to say, go, multiply again for me.
True.
An exploitative system.
So you are praising the rebellious one.
The rebellious.
Yeah.
To say, look, this one understood the system, that the system does not favor. They are not going to benefit out of the system. Whether you work as 100 times than anyone, you will remain where you are. Even the system is so brutal that it might not even, it will just praise you, but you will not benefit anything out of the system.
Yeah.
Because the system is designed that it must keep you where you are, the lowest of the lowest.
While generating for the master. Yeah.
Or for the system itself. So more or less it's about that. So you ought to understand that how we read and interpret.
Yeah.
And you know, our mothers, the CWM, I grew up listening, all of them, whenever they are this, talents season, they like this one. You say, hey, and they blame this one.
Who did not multiply.
Who did not multiply. He has been blamed for all these years. for working so hard, for working against the system, and praises these two for having given the system everything it deserved.
So this is more or less an
it's more
awakening.
Or less about awakening on how we read and interpret certain scriptures or passages that we think that they are normal.
True.
But if you go deeper and do your exegesis and exposition, you realize that this thing it's a problem.
True.
As a worker, it's
problematic.
Worker leader. This is very problematic.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think maybe we should have had maybe 2 hours, for such conversations, because I wanted to also venture into other spaces of theology that you are busy about, and also church matters as a church leader in your own right. Our church, the Uniting Reformed Church in Southern Africa, will be going to its upcoming General Synod in Lesotho. I wanted to hear your perspective and expectations out of that particular synod. But I think we shall have another time, or maybe you can just cover it up as you do your parting shots.
Look, let me thank you for having invited me once more again to Tsunami Conversation, and I wish you well in your journey venturing into this space, because the church is sometimes anti-media or media shy, even where social media, but we ought to encourage that the church must participate, use this spaces as space of possibilities, opportunities, and to engage the society and showcase what the church is about. And in as far as Lesotho is concerned, the preparations are going very well. We are happy, especially from the Southern Synod. There's highest participation from my synod. People want to attend, want to see themselves in Lesotho. We'll be in Lesotho for the whole week, discussing the future of the church. And the biggest thing for me is that when we come back from Lesotho Synod, the church must come back united. And I think we ought to bury the differences. It was another thing if our differences were doctrinal. They were fundamental. They were theological. We are not at that level. We are not there. It's just difference because of egos. Nothing else, nothing more. So I hope that everyone who's a member of the United Reformed Church, or at least who claims to be a member of the United Reformed Church, who preaches about reconciliation based on our confessions, who preaches about the unity of the church, that it is sacrosanct, will understand that we can't break the church. We ought to go to Lesotho, because I'm in the space of bargaining in the union spaces. Nothing is impossible. It depends on you just taking a phone call. Phone someone and say, no, man, let's resolve this better. And there are always ways, if people are willing to engage, sit down, engage, and we can come with something from this. You know that in the Southern Synod, we once had such a challenge.
Yeah.
It was resolved within 2 days.
Yeah.
We went to Lichtenberg Synod. We came back as a united
synod. Yeah.
Today we are enjoying the fruits of having went there and understood that we are not there as winners or losers.
Yeah.
In bargaining, you must always understand that you don't go in there with a view that the winner takes all.
Yes.
When you go to a bargaining table, you must understand that you ought to give something, the others ought to give something. Then out of that, it's a win-win situation for the church. And we must remember that the real owner of the church is Jesus Christ. So once we have that as our understanding, then we shall come back as the church would have won. The church of Jesus Christ would have won.
Thank you so much, Prof. And I don't want to add nor subtract anything from what Professor Senokoane has postulated to us. To our viewers, we see you, we see your comments and your engagements in the comment section on our YouTube page. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also share your inputs. We shall meet again and invite Professor again on a whole number of variety of issues that will be explored in this podcast. But for today, let's arrest it here up until we meet again next time. Ke a leboha.
The Tsunami Conversations, the platform to engage on theological discussions, spirituality, church polity, and religious matters. Our aim is to impart knowledge to the people of God. Welcome to Tsunami Conversation.